Everybody wants to know what I would do if I didn't win. I guess we'll never know.
Imagine making a difference. No, imagine being the difference. The difference between I can't and I can, or I won't and I will. The reason someone chooses to wake up and strive for greatness. In life, it can feel like everything is working against you. Let's defy all odds and break generational curses. This is Overstepping Poverty with Daquan and Zacchaeus. Welcome back to Overstepping Poverty, the podcast that provides you with tips, tricks, and hacks in overstepping poverty. My name's Daquan Brooks, and I'm here with my co-host Zacchaeus Shaw. How you doing, Zacchaeus?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing really good. I got to hang and be around a lot of great people today. It's always good. So every other week, I get to meet with a group of people that are either business owners or entrepreneurs or, you know, people that work off referrals. And it's nice to come together and share more about our life other than just business. Because we find that a lot of times they're going through a lot of the similar things. You know, it's different, but we're always able to give people some advice or different point of view perspective. Yeah. And I think that's important, you know, that people need. But so that was really nice to do that. It had been a few weeks since I got to do that, and just finding a balance back at work now that the baby's home. So
yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah. How are you?
I'm doing good as well. I think just that mastermind group that you guys have, I am a part of the group as well. I just haven't been able to make it, just being on Tuesdays. It's definitely something that I'd like to try and start working on my schedule so that I can be there, because it's definitely something that's important to me. Obviously, the group itself, you, myself, Wesley, Albert, we all came together and we're like, this is something that Sioux Falls needs, you know, just not only for us, of course, but other people, so then they can truly realize that they're not alone when it comes to being in this city and needing, if you ever need someone or you need to turn to someone, you have someone that is not only just like-minded like you, but also ensures that they're on the right path and journey just like you are. So definitely need to make it there. Other than that, just I'm great. Yeah. We just had Thanksgiving, and I was able to host Thanksgiving.
Let's go.
You know I love hosting things. Whether it's food events. Obviously, Thanksgiving is definitely all about the food, and it's also about giving. But just to have family, friends all around you, I think that's just a different level, and especially when it's in your home, you know. Right. So I definitely really enjoyed that. Yes. I didn't even get to that. That yet. Let's
go, baby.
Yo, yes. Team boy over here. We had our gender reveal at Thanksgiving, and everyone, they kept saying the same thing. It's going to be a girl. It's going to be a girl. You know, I was like, no. It's going to be a boy. It's going to be a boy. And I talked that into existence. You know what I'm saying? Now I have a little baby boy coming in April. So let's go. But just so you guys know out there, I'm not against team girl. It's just I had to make a decision. Everyone always asks. But at the end of the day, no matter what, you know, whether it's a girl or a boy, as long as they're healthy, that's what we look for. But
absolutely, bro.
I love it.
Yeah, well, I'm excited to get into our podcast today. Another episode with another great guest. And, you know, he was actually at that group this morning, and he said something in the group that made me think of the podcast. And it's like, you know what? He's right. He said, you know, it's dope that there's people that will help people use their voice, essentially, you know, because there's so many people out here that have something to give, you know, and there's so many people out here that they don't really have that outlet. You know, and a lot of times people don't feel heard. So, you know, with us having people come on the podcast, I think it's really cool to let them shine their light on what they're doing and what they're going to be able to contribute to society and stuff like that. So today I'm excited to have on a special guest named John Milk.
Yeah, let's go.
Welcome to the podcast.
Welcome.
Hey, I appreciate y'all having me for real. Like it's been a manifestation. We're talking about like speaking this in existence. I've been manifesting this for about 6 months. straight. I said, I'm going to be on this podcast, man. Like, I feel like I'm overstepping poverty.
Yeah.
I feel like I got an idea. I feel like I do have a voice, and now it's validated. It's coming full circle. Like, everything I've said in this past couple of years is now coming into fruition, and
Yeah.
bro, it's hitting. Like,
That's dope.
That's the thing where it's exciting. So yeah, thank you guys for real.
Absolutely. Thank you. I mean, honestly, at the end of the day, like, we don't have a podcast if it's not with our guests, you know.
Right.
I mean, we can definitely sit and talk to each other, but I think the stories that are shared on this podcast is just so much more valuable than just Zacchaeus and I talking, you know, because we have another person that comes here and they're able to bring value to this podcast and bring value to the individuals that are listening to this, you know, and they can connect to different people in different ways. So, you know, I appreciate you thanking us for having you on, but truly thank you for being on. You know, it takes a lot of courage to come on here. So
No, I appreciate it.
No, I appreciate you coming on as well. And I met you a little over a year ago, and we were in the same Leaders of Tomorrow course.
Yeah.
Through Think 3D Solutions. And honestly, I got to see a light and a side of you from observation, you know, because we didn't know each other before that at all. Right. So I got to see you be vulnerable in a group, in a class, in front of people, and, you know, talk about where you were at and, you know, all the things that you wanted out of life, and you were sick of being surrounded by people that didn't want anything more than what they were at, you know. So getting into the podcast, I want to start, you know, from the beginning. I want you to take us back to the beginning, you know, some of your earliest moments, and take us through your upbringing. How did we, you know, start from little milk to big milk?
A little half pint.
yeah,
I guess getting into it, late 80s, small town, you know what I mean?
Yep.
My mom's whatever. We don't know what she is. She's mixed, right? She classifies herself as being white or Caucasian. I'm not sure whatever box she checked. My dad's native, you know, and he was raised by a single mother. So that idea, and then plus, I believe there was a lot of residential school involvement. My aunt and my dad went. I believe my grandma went. So that residential school thing and again, we'll probably get into that a little bit later, but that effect that it had on my family was an instant, like, you could feel it.
It was direct.
It was direct. You can definitely feel the misplaced anger, misplaced emotions, and then closing off these emotions and never speaking about them. My grandma didn't talk about a lot.
Right.
You know what I mean? She was focused on what was the next move, how are we getting by, what are we going on, you know what I'm saying? And then how you going to try to control my father while controlling me? Again, it was one of those things, bro. Like, it got pretty hectic pretty quick.
And for those people that aren't aware of what he means by residential school, and correct me if I'm wrong, but this is more so of the boarding schools that they had, that they would take Native children away from their families and their reservations and put them in these boarding schools and teach them the American way.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. And sorry that...
No, you're good.
Yeah,
I just wanted to clarify for people out there that aren't aware.
Listeners and viewers, so with that, again, it's not something that's spoke about. It's not... I remember growing up that was a threat as a child. I'm talking about like 8 years old, you being bad. Like, you're going to go to Flandreau. Like, we're going to send you there. Yeah. One time digging around in my grandma's room, like, I found the applications, bro. My name was on it. I was like, ooh. But then, again, so that's shortly after, just being in small town Yankton is just, you're either on this side or you're on that side, pretty much what it seemed like, right? Either you were born with or you were born without. And then with that idea, with that poverty-stricken mentality that we didn't know what these words were then, so how do you identify that? That's just life, right? The struggle's real. We talk about that all the time. It is what it is, bro. The struggle's real. Cool. So then with the struggle comes crime. With the struggle comes addiction. With the struggle comes abuse. And suffering through abusive, toxic, you know, and you can't blame. And that's the worst thing. Like, I've learned a lot, like, within these past few years that, like, there's a reason, but then you can't blame, but then you can't excuse it. So it sounds like a contradiction, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of things today, it's going to sound like a contradiction, but it makes sense. You know what I mean? So I can't blame or fault my parents for what happened to them and how they raised me, right? But if they don't take ownership, then that's on them as well. So then, you know what I mean? What are you doing? If you knew better, you'd do better, right? And the fact that maybe they don't know, that's where I look back on it today. Like, well, maybe they don't know. And if they did, maybe they'd do something different. So the moment I found out that, you know, I could know, I guess, hold on, let me back up. We're still in the beginning, right? So we'll just get to that. So then, you know, crime, you know, low income.
Yeah.
I swear.
Were you in a single parent household?
Growing up, yeah. So my mom left early, right? She left super early with my big brother.
Okay.
And the story was that, so I'm a child of like, we got numerous brothers and sisters, right? Different generations of kids or whatever.
Yeah.
Like different versions, my dad says, because you got different baby moms, right? So then I'm the middle child technically.
Okay.
But in my dad's eyes, because like my mother told him that my brother wasn't his.
Sure.
So in my dad's eyes, it was some crooked thing about like, well, he's mine, but he ain't mine. So this is my firstborn, right? So I got that title automatic growing up. I was my grandma's favorite. It was a constant thing. You know, I'm the firstborn. I'm John Milk. And then like, even how I introduce myself, right? I'm John Milk. I'm not just John. I'm John Milk.
Right.
Like you could leave John out of it for all I care, but I'm still, that's who I am.
Mm-hmm. From that, you know, being in that environment, having to deal with drugs and traumatic experiences and stuff like that.
Right.
You're growing up in Yankton.
Yeah.
What was it like once you started getting to a point where you were getting, you know, maybe into high school? And
no, bro, like early on, I got in trouble. Like it was, so like we didn't even get to high school yet.
Okay.
So as a juvenile and adolescent, right? Again, I feel like I was already fast forwarded into the like punishment wise because of my dad's experience, right? He was known for drugs. He was known to be selling drugs. He was known in the town for this. There's only so many people in Yankton, right?
Right.
So then with that and his friendships that he created and his relationships that are still true to this day, right? Like you got that different look.
Right.
So again, hanging out with the other bad kids that didn't really have parents doing what they're supposed to be doing, like we fall into the crime, we fall into acting up, we fall into car hopping. Like, and my thing was that I was never, I always got in trouble for not being home or something. Like it was something weird like that. You know, it wasn't too crazy. But then like I was the center of attention because I don't know how Yankton really was like, but from my scope, there was only so many Native families. You know what I mean? Back in then, like in the early 90s, there was only so many in Yankton.
Right.
And we knew them all, it seemed like, right? And then, so we were targeted a lot. It felt like even in school, it was like, bro, something happened and we were acting up. No, and that doesn't negate nothing I was doing, right? But like, I felt like if I was a different kid or if I was a white kid, the punishment would have been different. It didn't fit. It fit for me, it seemed like, because again, you don't understand racism and systematic oppression when you're a child. So like one time we got out early for a snow day or something like that. And this is in middle school, bro. My brother pushed me into a pop machine. His friend pushed me into a pop machine. I bounced off it. I turned around and throw my cousin in the pop machine. The white girl say some stuff like, he was beating them all up. He threw them all in that. And they were intentionally, I was like, bro, I got arrested for destruction of property. Like I got expelled or not expelled, but like suspended from school for a little bit. It was a whole thing, bro. When you read the report, I'm like, damn, they really paint me to be some kind of criminal. Right. And that became my story. Like they're always painting me to be some kind of criminal. And that was my poor me that kept the chip on my shoulder, right? It was like, damn, they just.
So did you like start to feed into that?
Yeah, definitely, bro.
I think that's something just being in the Midwest. You know what I'm saying? Like you said, you have someone that comes from a bigger city and, you know, the music, the trends, they're already there. And then they're bringing this to the Midwest and that comes in. And then what happens is people aren't used to it. And since it's unknown, they're afraid of it. You know what I'm saying? So they don't know what to think. And so they usually think of on anything unknown. They say people are afraid of the dark, right? Well, you're not truly afraid of the dark. You're afraid because you can't see what is in the dark. Right. You know, you have no vision on that. So that's how it is as well when you bring these new trends and whatnot. Because I saw that too when I was younger as well. You know, I'd have these black pants on. I had a backwards cap, white T-shirt, you know, and I'm like, man, I feel good. But then to someone else, I looked like a criminal because they weren't used to it. And that's just the things, you know, that in the Midwest, now that it's starting to really open up to the whole world, you fast forward and it's like, wow, this was normal. But I kind of want to bring that back though with you. Zacchaeus asked, were you buying into the stuff? Were you feeding into that? You know, did you ever come to a point where it was like, you know what? I don't know if I'm getting all the attention today, so I'm gonna get in trouble.
No, my thing always felt like I was into, how do you explain it? When the people around you are already doing the thing, bro, like you're going to do the thing eventually, regardless of what happens. You know what I'm saying? I don't care, bro. Like if you're going to.
Like law of proximity.
It really is, bro. Like, and I used to use the thing with addiction was like, if you work at McDonald's, there's no way in hell you're not going to eat the fries one time. You know what I'm saying? At least one time. And then after that, it becomes a convenience thing. And then because you have access. And that's with everything, bro, with getting in trouble, with smoking cigarettes, with stealing. Like, bro, we live right next to like the trailer court I grew up in lived right next to the Bob's Wholesale, right? They sold candy and cigarettes or whatever, right? We got around some influential kids that are a little bit older and they showed us like, bro, you can break right up in there and steal whatever you want. And they won't catch you. You know what I mean? And it's right next door, bro.
Right.
So again, when we don't have nothing, and this is a way to get something, get money, get cigarettes, because you can sell the cigarettes to older kids. And again, I really wasn't into the stealing thing. My little brother got them hands, bro, when he was growing up. So it was, and it's crazy because like, I don't know, I was always into like, I want to make a deal and sell something. So like, all right, you get the thing, I'm gonna sell the thing. Let's see if we can sell it. Let's make some money. Because that hustler mentality that my dad was this, my dad was that. And again, we're basing it off of just little stories over watching them drink and stuff. So who really knows what's what? You know what I mean? Like, who knows how high or low anybody was? Nobody, I don't know. But now that I'm a grown man, I'm like, bro, obviously that wasn't it. Like,
well, I still look at things like that, you know, and when you take any of like judgment out and you just look at it for what it is, when people are in the struggle and when people are living on survival, it's actually in a perspective that I'm coming from. It's crazy to see the creativity that you come up with. Like survival is, I'm going to get this and I'm going to find a way to sell this or get the, you know, to try to climb out. Naturally, we're going to try to climb out from whatever situation we're in. There's a lot of things that in those times that people will look down on and you may look down on or whatever. There's a lot of things you learned during that time that you're still able to apply to today.
Little tricks to the trade, bro, or something. Absolutely. Like I impressed my wife the first time we stayed together after I got released from jail, bro. Like we went to that little was a little hotel on the side of the interstate, whatever. You can stay there. Little My Place or whatever, right? Yeah. And she's like, "Oh man, we don't got this." And I was like, "I'll show you how to cook some food right now, bro. Like I can make you a whole meal and a bag of water in a microwave, dog."
Yeah,
and she's survival. Like, "Wow, like, you know what I'm saying? I was Bear Grylls or something like that, bro." Like, I was like, I could really get us out here. And these are trips to like the res and all that. And when we go out to Milk's camp and like, my dad promoted the struggle. The most. I swear to God, he's like, "We out here, we're gonna struggle." I'm like, "What?" And it never made sense to me, but it was one of the things we did. And I'm telling you, like, even talking to my sister now, like, she looks at me some type of way sometimes. She's like, "Bro, we never did this," because we go out there now and get an Airbnb and like we're promoting a different life. Like my kids shouldn't have to suffer. They should go out there and enjoy it. You know what I mean? They should go out there and be able to feel it without having to feel it. You know what I mean? So like, we bring a different aspect now. That we'll get to that later, right?
Right. Well, I want to talk about quick though. I want to talk about how relaying it to that hustler mentality or that, you know, that struggle is what really makes people and drives people later on in their life. So what is it about, if you can think about that time, is there anything you can take away from that that you're able to apply to your life now? And how has that hustler mentality been able to help you get to where you're wanting to be?
Let me interject real quick that like, it's not all hustle, bro. Like I was raised by addicts. Right? So and that's a real thing, like real addicts and real alcoholics, but they're functional. Okay. You know what I'm saying? So like if you're functional and you're doing your thing and like there's always somebody you could look over and they're worse off or whatever compared to what my dad's doing. Right. You know what I mean? Because my dad's still doing his thing and he's young and he's tough and like, and then my grandma too, she's thugged out doing her thing, bro. And like she was a respectable woman in my eyes. Right. You know what I mean? Sure. So I'm like, she's doing the most, but then she still had drinks on the weekend. She still, like, I remember the first time I ever told her to go to sleep, bro, she smacked me in my face. And like, I was like 10 years old, bro. I was like, it's time for you to go to bed, bro. It's late. And she like, whap. I was like, damn, bro. Like,
who are you talking to?
She's like, who are you talking to, bro? I'm still enjoying my drink.
So what is that? What is that like though?
But that idea of it, bro, that I can bring still from that is that there's so many different, like, again, it's a contradictive thing. Like, you can make something out of nothing. But the contradiction is that as soon as you get that something, bro, you go fuck it off on something that you don't need. Right. Or you go fuck it off something that doesn't gonna give you value. Like, and that's until recently, you know what I'm saying, in these past 6 years of my life, like, I realized that, like, if you don't take something and invest it into something else, then you're just chasing your tail. And I no longer want to chase my tail. I didn't, you know, and I've learned that, and I've been blessed to be, again, with my wife and all that, and we'll get to that part of the story. So, like, I've been so blessed to see some things now, and you've seen that, and you've seen the change and the things I spoke about. And it's, again, I don't act like I did this on my lonesome.
Right.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, and if people act like they did that, then they're false, bro. They got to be capping a little bit. Like, you can be self-made, like, yeah, I did this myself, but, like, did you? Like, whose idea did you listen to? Whose direction did you follow? Did you pave a way that was unpaved? I highly doubt it. Most people in this world can't come up with an idea that hasn't already been done before. You know what I mean? Like, we think we're these unique people, and we are. And DNA-wise, we're unique, and that no matter what. But you can Google John Milk, bro. There's more of them out there, and it's weird to me because I thought my name was unique, right? But there's a few of them out there. Like,
I thought it was the only one.
Yeah, I'm not a senior, junior, nothing, bro. But there's another John Milk over in Alaska or Florida or something like that. Like, it's crazy.
So can you take us back to kind of when that mindset shift where you're just like, you know what, this is it. My past is the past. It's time for me to start focusing on my future.
Bro, that wasn't until my 30s. Like, actually. So if we can just run through it quickly. Let's run through it. Yeah. Let's run through the story quickly. Because, again, like, we talk about 8, 9 years old, like, I was getting into trouble. I was actually stopped by a police officer and be like, oh, hey, I know who your dad is. Like, hold on, wait. Pause me up and everything, bro. I'm like, what is... That's messed up. And I realized it was like, this is what it is for me. Right. So, again, feeding into it unknowingly, but I would never on purpose be like, oh, I'm just going to act up, because who wants to get in trouble, bro? Like, I was locked up with some of those kids, and I'm like, damn, bro. Like, I'd be judging those kids while I'm sitting in the same position. The nerve of me, right? But for some reason, I was always made the example of. So, like, I would get into a little bit of trouble, and they'd be like, well, damn, lock him up. Cool. And then I couldn't follow probation rules. I never could follow the rules, bro. Like, you try to put me in a box and lock me down and say I got to be home at this time, and my friends are all messing around. I'm going to do what they're doing. I'm going to get out. And my grandma was raising me at the time, so, like, there's no way.
Right, you didn't have the structure
like,
to really...
She couldn't chase me down. She could deal with me later.
Yeah.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But then, so at 13, I'm living like a 16-year-old, bro. Like, I remember I came home to my aunt's house one time. I brought a 17-year-old girl with me. And she's like, who's this? I was like, my girlfriend. She's like, what? And dealt with it, bro. Like, actually dealt. I was like, be nice, bro. Like, she's my girlfriend.
Right.
Yeah.
What's wrong with me? You know what I mean? Like, so again, like, we fast forward, and I was never one of those fast forward kids who was like, oh, I took responsibility and I stepped up for my family, and I wish I would have been that guy. I regret that all the time. I've always been a leader, a voice of some sort, right? And without the proper influence, bro, like, I was a leader for the wrong stuff. So going into, like, I think it was 13, right? I was on intense probation. I would never stay home, bro. I was always messing around. I had a girlfriend at the time. I was always sneaking out, going to see her, and that shit added up. And then I was always smoking. So I couldn't pass the UA. And that's been, like, the story of my, like, criminality, I guess, is like, well, if I couldn't pass the UA for the life of him, bro, like, like, I swear to God. So then at 13, they're just like, yo, it's it. I remember the dude's like, you're going to JDC? And I was like, okay, cool, whatever. And he's like, you can't pass this UA. And dude, I held it. And I was sitting in the police department just holding it. I tried to make every excuse I could. And I ended up, like, saying I was going to throw up. So I drank a bunch of water until I was about to throw up. They brought me in a trash can. I seen that they have a bunch of rubber gloves in it. I was legit pissing in the corner, fucking I don't even remember if there's a camera or not, bro. I just know that, because in a juvenile, they can't put cameras on you.
Right.
So, like, I'm in the corner, bro, just pissing in these gloves, tying them up. And then finally they come back. They're like, you can't go. We're going to take you to JDC for the night until you can go. I'm like, damn, you can't. They're like, no, you're not getting away with this shit. Because I played a few games like that before.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're like, no. Took me to JDC. Finally, like, halfway up, just like, I'm going to piss my pants, bro. I'm going to fail DUA. Just let me go to the bathroom. I guarantee it's going to fail. It don't matter. Lock me up. That was the tipping point. I didn't even see the judge. They called the judge, right? This is before FaceTime and all that shit. So they called the judge, but I didn't even get to go to court. They called him. They said this, and this. No, you DOC, bro. Boom. Ward of the state.
Damn.
I called my dad. The last time he was in court, he's like, I don't know what to do with him. He's running amok. Like, what do we do? He threw his hands up. I was like, damn. My grandma's like the only person always that spoke up for me. And she's like, he doesn't deserve this. Like, he might deserve some shit, but he don't deserve this. And she knew what was going to happen, right? They're going to take me away. And again, what that probably triggered for her, I never got to ask that. You know what I'm saying? Like what that did, like, you know what I'm saying? That probably meant a lot because my dad got taken away. You know what I'm saying? She got taken away probably. Who knows? You know what I'm saying?
One moment here, and I'll allow you to, of course, continue on your story there, but you had said that your dad said threw his hands up and he's like, I can't, you know what I'm saying? Like, how did that make you feel? You said, I don't know how it made my grandma feel, but how did it make you feel at that point in time?
Well, like there was nobody, bro. Like there was legit, my grandma was the one. So there was somebody. But there's nobody else, nobody that should have. But then again, as a grown up now, I can't fault him for not knowing what to do.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? Like I can't be like, well, you should have did this, this, and this. Cause like we've had those conversations and it goes nowhere.
Right.
So,
and I get that because, as you fast forward, of course, there are plenty of things that we learn in a short amount of time that some people won't even learn in a lifetime, you know? But I'm just saying, like, as a kid, because I too have been there as a kid where I'm like, man, the one person I was hoping that was going to stick up for me was like, nah, I'm done. Like, push the limits. You know what I'm saying? So, like, to me, I'm like, gosh, you said that and I put myself in those shoes and I'm like,
yeah, 13.
What now?
At 13.
Yeah.
He's like, I don't know what to do. He's running amok. And maybe he didn't know the heaviness of what those words meant. You know what I'm saying? But it meant a lot. He's like, all right, well, cool. You awarded the state then. We'll figure it out for you. Like, cool. And my dad's like, all right. Because again, probably in his life, that's what he was used to. Yeah. I felt like you can't, you know what I'm saying? This is it, bro. Like, this is the storyline. This is like, and you never even thought in those terms, but like, this is it. This is your life. This is what you're doing now.
Yeah.
And then going into boot camp, bro, like I'm still overly emotional and all that shit, right? When like I've had moments where like I had no emotion, but then I'd be overly emotional when I was younger. I remember that in boot camp because that was one thing. Motherfuckers be like, you ain't a gangster because you cry. I'm like, bro, I'll beat your ass. Like, none of that shit matters, bro. Like, these tears and these hands are a whole different story.
Right,
like, they come out fast and it's real. You know what I mean? It's like added to that and being the fact that somehow I was always setting an example. I was always something and I couldn't keep up or doing something, bro. And again, we weren't taught to exercise. We weren't taught to fucking do push-ups. Like, we were taught to fight, how to be mean, how to run our mouth. You know what I'm saying? But we weren't taught all the physicality because my dad went to prison. He got big. He never come home and taught that. So for some reason, you know what I mean? So boot camp, I did that a couple times, right? I went to boot camp, got out 6 months later, I was back right in. You know what I mean? It's just one of those systematic oppression things. You're set up for failure. If you're not fucking following suit, bro, you're going to go right back. Because again, you're on another level now. They're starting to treat you like an adult. They're getting you prepared for prison.
Right.
So then after the second time, they're like, damn, bro, you're such a, and this is the crazy thing. My little brother applied for Job Corps. He was starting to get in trouble, right? They wouldn't let him go to Job Corps because he was too violent for a small community, right? Because we're from a smaller community.
Right.
So they said he couldn't go to a smaller community and go there. Same thing with me. They said I was too influential in my community to go back home at 14. I'm like, what do you mean, bro? Like, because the kids I was influencing, like,
well, you're smart.
They're doing more, right? We were doing more. And it was bad.
Intelligent.
So like, they sent me to LCB, it was Limited Center B. It's on the Custer campus, right? So I went,
so you were at Star Academy.
Yeah, but back then, bro, it was fucking Patrick Henry boot camp, bro. Like, it was actually a thing. Before that girl died at Plankinton Academy and all that, like, I'm telling you, I seen some stuff growing up. It was so weird, bro. Like, to be raised in the system. Like, the only place I didn't go to was Plankinton. You know what I'm saying? Like, I went to our home for treatment. I went to some other place for weed, bro. Like, all this thing where weed's medically and recreational. Right. Like, they were out here acting like I'm a fucking drug addict, bro. Like, when I was a child, I'm like, I smoke a little bit of tree. And then you do the workbooks and they'd be like, well, this doesn't apply to me. Like, well, how doesn't it apply? You're denying it. I was like, dude, I never stole nothing for weed. I never did not eat because of weed. Like, it was always that thing, right? And that's been my criminal background for a long time, was that I smoke weed. Whatever.
Right.
Fast forward 14 to 18, bro. Like, system, right? Finally, they released me out of Springfield Academy when I was like 17, turning 18. They said, well, you about to be out, bro. Like, I was like, well, what about graduating? Like, let me get into a school. They're like, no, like, just take the GED. I got in the middle of that. One of my dad's ex-girlfriends she volunteered to take me, and she lives in Wichita, Kansas. So as I'm turning 18, they're like, well, you're gonna move with this lady. There's no point in you going, again, this is crazy. They're saying this stuff out loud. Like, there's no point in you going to school, like, unless you get your GED because of where you're already at, like, you're 18 type shit. I'm like, that sounds messed up, right? And you think about it now, I'm like, damn, the idea of like, you didn't think it was worth me finishing something because of who I was. And that's what it is. They probably seen like, he's just going to be locked up again. It's whatever. Like, what does he really need the education for? Looking at it now, like, it's crazy. Like this all. So then I spent a couple months in Wichita, bro. And then again, I was smoking weed, found the gangster next door, and he's selling me weed. We're hanging out, and like the lady I'm living with sees it, calls the cops. They don't lock me up, but they send me next door, which is crazy, bro. Cause like, they're like, ain't your friend next door? I'm like, yeah.
Yeah.
They're like, yeah. They don't know he's a grown man that's selling me weed. You know what I mean? It was weird. So like, and then after that, I called somebody I knew, and then I was like, I just want to go home. So she took me home, right? They got me a bus ticket to go home. I went home, and then my dad came and got me. I think that's when he was supposed to come get me. I was in Wichita, and I came to like Omaha or something like that, and he didn't come get me.
Right.
It was crazy, bro. Like, I was stuck down there too. And he was supposed to come get me, but he was like messing around, and he was high. And like, again, I don't want to slander my dad by no means, but like, facts are facts. You know what I mean? Like, so he was tweaking, gambling in Sioux City, and he heard me say Sioux City, but I was like, no, bro, I'm in Omaha. So then I ended up down there, and it was just another crazy experience, bro. I ended up with some fucking gangster, like watched some girl smoke crack for the first time. Like, she was a hooker on the street in Omaha. Omaha was like, I thought Yankton was rough, bro. I was like, damn, Omaha's tough. Like, so all that, and then my teenage years was the same thing, back and forth, whatever, right? And eventually, it just led into other stuff, dude. Like, I don't know. When I was 18, I tried meth for the first time, and that's what led down that path. You know what I mean? That was the biggest. It was like, we started functionally using it, functionally selling it. Had the hustler mentality, but still using drugs.
Right.
How the fuck does that make sense? You know what I mean? Because the I don't know how you'd say it. Like, the code wasn't instilled in you, bro. Because again, you're raised by drug addicts.
You don't get high on your own supply.
Yeah, and then you watch Scarface do a pile of fucking snow, and you're like, bullshit. You definitely get high on your own supply because it's cheaper. Like, so that was always the thing with like hustling. Every time I was like, I'm a hustler to provide, I'm a hustler to this, but I wasn't really providing. I was just providing for myself, finding a cheaper way around it with a poverty mentality. Is what it came down to, right?
Right. At what age was that, would you say?
18.
18?
18, yeah.
How long did that addiction, how long were you using meth then from that point?
Run? Wow. So that run went into, we were just like weekend users at first, right? And then one of my friends was like, yo, bro, you ever shot up? And it was within like the first week. I was like, no. And he's like, well, try it out, bro. It's way intense. I was like, okay. And I don't know how I'm so easily influenced, but like, in that sense, you know what I'm saying? I'm not influenced to do dumb shit, but like, bro, like, we're like, yo, it sounds good. I'm like, again, we're probably suppressing all this stuff, and like, and you're not recognizing it as that.
Right.
Like, kids nowadays have all these terms, and they can use all these terms to recognize what's going on with them. They're like, oh, well, I'm just manic right now, and I'm depressed, and like, or I feel anxious, so I'm doing this now because of this. There was no reason behind it. We're like, oh. And you're not like, oh yeah,
I'm just doing it.
I'm blocking out shit because of this. No, you were just doing it, bro. Like, that's the thing you did, right? And so after the first night, it became a thing. And then you do a little bit of research on it, and you're like, you get higher faster. It's the quickest way because you got to suck it up through a fucking cotton ball or whatever, right? And that's how it first started out. And then that would filter the poison, right? It would filter, so it was a cleaner way of doing it than smoking and damaging your lungs or whatever the case may be. That was our excuses that we did.
Right.
But it just, again, it progressed so quickly. And then things got a little light when I had my son at 21, right? Like, the drug use went down because my baby mom was no longer using. And she was usually footing the bill because she had the steady job, right? Like, so then I became a good dad. But then again, I was still a hustler. I was still an addict, bro. Like, and I had to do what I had to do. And then my baby mom's brother came down. He got out of prison. And then that's in like 2008, bro. So if I'm going too fast, like, it's not, 'cause like, these are the major real events, right? So 2008, we were moving and grooving, acting up, right? And he introduced us to cocaine, but I was already shooting meth. So then, like, again, we were connecting a few places. He was bringing zips, and we were moving, and every day everybody's getting high and moving lots of drugs, bro, every day. Like, it's just one of those things. So all year we're doing our thing, and then we end up arguing about like, you just get high or whatever. And I'm like, bro, I'm moving all this shit. I do what I want with my shit, right? And that was the argument.
Right.
It's like, I'll do what I want with my drugs. He's like, well, you're just getting high, blah, blah. It was a weird thing. I don't know.
Yeah.
No shade on him, but it was just a weird thing. So then I was like, fuck that. I'll prove to you. I quit doing it right then. I was like, I'm done. So I stopped using. My brother was on like breathalyzers, and I was running him back and forth to breathalyzers. So we had our little routine. We'd wake up early. You know what I'm saying? We'd smoke a blunt, go get some coffees, take him to his breathalyzer, come back, make breakfast. Me and my son hang out for a little bit, and then I'd start my day cleaning, all that stuff, right? And then sell some weed, do whatever, right? But I left the drugs alone. I think it was like not even 4 days later, bro. My son woke up. I laid him down. I laid down with him. I fell asleep. House started on fire.
Wow.
Like, yeah, bro, it was pretty intense. So I got like 3rd and 4th degree burns on my feet. And that became it was crazy, bro. That was like, I should have known then, like when you see the reaction from people and how people function and all that, I'm like, damn, bro, like,
Yeah.
my baby mom's brother wanted me to take the charge. He's like, because he was already a felon. So he's like, bro, you're only gonna get a little bit of time. I'm like, dude, I got a kid and a baby on the way, right? Because my kids are 8 months apart. Same baby mom, right? So like she came pretty early, and like, but even still, it was like, she's on the way. You want me to go to jail? I was like, we already all hit, but you want me to take it all? That's what he wanted. I was like, I can't do that. Like, we can't live like that, bro. No. Whatever, his story, well, there's so many things, and I don't want to get into that.
Yeah.
Right.
So I don't know how we like move around with that. So then I get out of the felony, right? Because of the fact that they can't prove it. So we get the charge of like having a house to hold, use, or sell drugs.
Right.
So that was our charge, right? It's less than a felony. And my lawyer's like, she's been a family friend my whole life, you know what I'm saying? Like the family lawyer, my whole life, juvenile and everything, like she was representing me. So like, she's like, you're not going to get these types of charges this early. So they pled me out. And then fast forward, you know, my 8 months or a few months later, my daughter is born. Again, I'm doing drugs. Again, it's just.
At any point when you were, because a lot of times people will be like, you know, when I had my kid, that was this aha moment, and
That changed.
or they found God or whatever, you know, something like that. For you, did you have those moments? Because I know, you know, when you are using drugs, you're not always attuned to a lot of those.
I think the issue was I was so functional that, like, especially the people around me, everybody would tell you, like, he always was there for his kids. He was doing his thing for his kids. He was with his kids. Like, it's what I've been known for, bro. Is like, I love my kids, but I also want to do what everybody else is doing. I'm doing my thing, you know what I mean? And then I learned, I was like, I can do my thing better than everybody and still take care of my kids. So then I wasn't trapped into a room fishing for a vein, bang, bang, go back out, clean the house up, pay attention to my son, fucking like create that bond or whatever, washing your hands and try to like, it was all bad parenting, bro. If you look back, it's just straight bad parenting. But I was doing the best I could with what I knew how to do. And I feel like that was the thing. Cause there wasn't a ha-ha moment. Cause my dad had me. He's like, yeah, I got high the night I had you.
Right.
I celebrated when I had my kids, bro. I did a lot of drugs. I had fun because my baby mom's in the hospital. My kid's there. She's fine. Like, or not she, because there was a little complications with her, but like he was fine that night. Boom, we celebrated.
Right.
My daughter, she got flown out to Sioux Falls, like when we were in Yankton, right? And that's when so then we moved up to Sioux Falls. It was my first time. That's why I'm saying, like, off and on, I was part of this community or whatever.
Yep.
So like in 2007, we moved up here for a little bit. Again, hustling, meeting new people, doing our thing. Like, I started selling ecstasy. Like, we were taking trips to the cities. Like, we were doing our thing. Not to a level where it meant anything, you know what I mean? It was just always supplemental. So I don't ever want to get that twisted that we were out here fucking, no. Because I want everybody to know that, like, bro, all the drug use doesn't account for nothing, bro. Like, if I could take it all back, I would.
It doesn't define you.
It
Not
doesn't.
the person that you are
Not
today.
at all. And if I could take that away, bro, I would have still been down the same struggles, still committed some crimes, still fucking got in fights, or still joined a gang, or still, you know what I'm saying?
Well, let me ask you this. I mean, we discuss in the podcast just being the sum of the 5 people around you. Do you feel if you changed your entire group and you went, say you moved from this group that's selling drugs, doing anything like that, you move to a group that is all business mindset,
Right.
You know, positive, you know, doing things to better themselves every single day. You move to that group, do you feel like things would change?
It has. See, like, again, we lead into the fact that, like, let's fast forward past the nonsense, right? 6 years ago, bro, I decided to end my criminal fucking lifestyle, end my addiction to meth and the dependency on being around people and all that stuff that didn't matter. So my cousin was murdered in 2018. Somehow we got roped into it. If you check the Kellerland thing, right? It says that he's involved in double homicide investigation. Sounds crazy, right? My warrant states that I was wanted for violation of probation. That's how they got me. Like, that's how they got the warrant to come search the place or whatever, because they were trying to rope us into something. I'm not even sure. 5 hours later, standing off with the SWAT or whatever, bro, and really, like, it was nothing. I just didn't want to go outside. I was like, what are they fucking still here for, bro? Like, I couldn't figure out why they're still here. Well, somebody already jumped out the window, in that interaction or whatever, told the cops I had a gun. It was my gun. I'm known to have a gun, blah, blah. He just showed me the gun. And then, like, after that long ass wait, bro, I was like, dude, this is enough. Like, they're threatening to, like, gas the house and all this stuff. And I was like, bro, this is it. I was like, just don't do nothing crazy. We're going to open the door.
Yeah.
Boom, let them in. They arrested us. The whole experience was wild, bro. Just that type of experience is like a movie. And, like, it was weird, bro. I heard that there were snipers in, like, they really thought I was going to do some shit. And I'm like, no, bro. Like, I don't.
Right.
It's a serious moment.
I just didn't want to deal with the cops. I'm like, why aren't they leaving? That was my biggest question. I never had cops stay that long. I'm like, why aren't they leaving, bro? Like, what do they want?
Right.
I was like, this shit is crazy. And it's because I had a gun and because, like, you know what I mean? So, again, goes into like 4 months, 3 to 4 months, depending on who you ask. You ask my wife, and, like, we got to double check the timing, but I'm in jail for about 3 months. Again, I'm known for talking. I'm known for, like, standing on my business and this and that. And I become one of the influential peoples. That's what they act like. People that have some kind of influence within the pods, right? In jail, in county jail. Like, so, and again, I never said this stuff. I never run around acting like I was nobody, bro. I'm just moving and grooving, finessing where I can, talking what I can do, and then standing on what I've been said since the street. And I was a stand-up guy. I'm not going to fuck you over. I'm not trying to run you over. It's all peace till you approach me, you know what I mean? And, like, I made my way through that. And somehow, like, the county was weird at the time. They took all the people that were either problem guys or something like that, or had influence in the pod or stuff like that. They put us all in one pod. Like, they took us upstairs and put us all in one pod. It was weird. So I spent the remainder of my time, like, fighting these charges, right? So it's 2018. We're fighting the charges. It's coming on. Like, I went in January. It's coming up. Yeah, it's only been a couple months. Yeah, bro. It was like January. And then at the end of February, my wife walks in, and she's a CO, right? And she's just, like, gorgeous, bro. I'm like, what the? And this is like 3 a.m., bro, when they serve you breakfast or whatever. I see her. I start asking about her when we wake up for the day or whatever, and, like, that's hours later, right? And then I see her again. I'm like, dang. So I talk to him, like, hey, because I'm known for that, bro. I was very friendly. You know what I mean? Like, I'm down to be friendly, especially with the females. Like, I'm okay. And niceness gets taken totally different ways nowadays. Now I'm married. I'm like, bro, I'm just being nice. Like,
Yeah.
My fault. So shooting my shot with her, and it was the coolest thing. Like, she knew me. She read my file. And there was some of the strangest things that we can get onto another times that, like, she even seen some of the stuff. I was like, wow. But then when I started approaching her and actually physically, I'm like, bro, there's something that's going on. There's a spark. There's got to be a divine something. I could feel it. You know what I mean? And the way she looked at me and the way we talked to each other, I'm like, bro, this is crazy.
Just leading up to your aha moment?
Yeah. And it was one of those things, bro. And it was like, and mind you, all the toxic stuff that I've had going on in my life, bro, like, up till then was pure, bro, just bad movie after bad movie. It seemed like every toxic story you've ever fucking read, I was involved in, bro. Like, it just was like, wow. But when I met her, I started, shooting my shot. And I tell everybody, I was like, dude, shoot your shot regardless. Like, and she was there for about a year. And she said, like, and again, when she tells her side of it, it's like, I was about to quit. You know what I'm saying? Somehow they ended up having me come over here and watch y'all stuff. I didn't even want to do it. And then they put me there, and then boom, we met, we started talking. And then a few weeks into it, I was like, bro, what would it take? I was like, for me and you to be together. I was like, to be a thing. And she's like, you can't do drugs no more. You can't sell dope no more. Like, And I was like, oh, I've never tried that. That's crazy, right? Like, I've never tried that. I've never tried doing something different.
So it was a big ask.
It was a huge ask, bro. Like, even my brother thought it was a setup. Like, and I told him, I was like, bro, I'm about to plead guilty to all this shit. He's like, bro, you think she gonna be with you and hold you down? What if you get all this time? I'm like, I don't care, bro. I think this is it. Like, she gonna hold me down, like, because again, I'm facing a lot of time, like drug possession, gun possession, and another felony possession in Yankton. So I'm facing all these felonies, and it's like, automatically, bro, if they convicted me, I'm gonna serve at least 8, right? Because it's looking at like 20. So like, people say 20 years, it wasn't 20 years. It'd be like 8 years. But I was already ready for that. And I was like, dude, it's gonna be whatever. And I started even like with the whole prison gang stuff, bro. Like, I had to take a few hits because of it. I was like, dude, I'm not doing that. Like, I'm not. And again, I checked by my own friends. Like, you know what I mean? Shout out to homie Willis. Like, he's legit. He's like, yeah, bro, like, we stand on this. I'm like, I get that. But he's like, I get you're trying to be different, bro. But you know what I mean? What are we going to do? We going to look weak, or we going to act up?
So you still have that group that's still trying to pull you back in.
It's not even a pull. It's a standard, bro. It's what you sign up for. You know what I mean? When you signed up for something, like, you came to play. You know what I mean? Like, what are you supposed to do? You said you were going to do this. Stand on that shit, bro. Somebody calls you out your name, stand on it. Again, we handled it in a different way.
More of a respect thing.
Right, because again, whether I'm changing or not, they still got to live with that. You know what I'm saying? So like, you can't look weak in any faction.
So let me ask you this, because when you mention you're thinking you're going to do at least 8, you're looking at 20. The first thing I ask in my mind is, what is going through your head when you're realizing that you're going to face potentially 8 years, could be 20 years? Like, what is that like?
My concern wasn't that. It was more of like, how am I going to make this time?
Because again, how old are your children at this time?
2018.
So they're probably like 10?
Yeah,
9,
they're like
10 years
8,
old?
9. My youngest was like 4. You know what I'm saying? Like,
wow.
So again, like, they were writing letters to me. They still seen me as somebody famous and like somebody important. And because again, they're living this shitty little life, bro, and the struggle of their existence because of us. You know what I'm saying? Bad parenting and all that, right? And those things hurt the most. You know what I mean? But then I had such, bro, I'm telling you, it's so crazy to say this now. Because now that I believe in like manifestation and prayer is real, and speaking shit into existence and scripting and all that is very real, right? The law of attraction is real.
But where does that come from, though? I want to fast forward into that where you're like, that true, all right, I'm done. I'm trying to learn. I'm trying to better myself. I'm trying to be around people that want better for me.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I'm hearing your story and I get it, because I'm hearing like you trying to break out so many times. It sounds like at this point in time, I was done, got pulled back in. This time, done, got pulled back in.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So there was a point in time where it was just like, that's it.
Right.
I took the first step and I'm never going back.
And that would be going on like 2 years now. So after I was released from jail or whatever, right? It was, again, this shit, I said, it's going to work. I'm going to plead guilty. They're going to give me a chance. I'm going to get out of here, bro. I'm going to show them, right? It happened. Couldn't believe it happened, bro. And then
what happened?
So I pled guilty to 2 charges in Sioux Falls, right? Pled guilty to possession of a firearm by a felon, and then possession of methamphetamines, controlled substance or whatever, right? And with those carry or whatever, but I pled guilty. They're like, oh, cool. You got a plan. You got an idea. This is what you're going to do. We'll give you a chance. Again, the system is never like, we're going to give you a chance because we believe in you. It's more of, we're going to give you a chance because we know from statistics that you're going to fuck up regardless. So we have you automatic. It's cool. I went down to Yankton because I got out. They pled guilty. They're like, yep, cool. It's all going to be suspended or whatever, right? I get down to Yankton. I'm like, dude, this could be another thing. I'm going to go to prison for at least 2-3 years, right? Because I'm carrying a charge that carries 5 to 10. And again, I'm a habitual offender now. Like, that's what they just gave me over there. They're like, you're a habitual offender. So now I'm a career criminal or whatever. In the eyes of the state. Like, again, I don't see myself as this at all, bro. I'm like, damn, I was literally smoking weed the first time I went to prison. I told the judge, I was like, at least I'm not getting high on meth. He said, oh, again, you don't follow the rules, whatever, go. So, again, so then when I got out, being normal was good enough. It was just good enough for everybody. Everybody stopped, like everybody around me has slowly stopped doing drugs. Nobody's influenced by meth. They're just drinking alcohol, hanging out, partying, right? And we're celebrating the fact that we're just not on drugs. Mm-hmm. It started to irk me. It started to be a thing where I'm like, dude, we do this all the time. My wife's stressed out on Sundays. All we do is waste food and money and alcohol, and then we feel sick the next day. Like, what a shitty way to start a Monday, right? Because we were trying to enjoy our Sunday, living for the weekend and whatever. Mm. And all these things were clicking with me. And it was like, damn, bro, I want something different. Like, I want to do something different. And again, no shade to everybody that wants to fucking do their regular stuff, bro. Like, go ahead. Mm-hmm. But something in me was do something different. And then a couple relatives died, elders, like throughout this time, right? And my wife seeing how we do things in my family and in our culture, we bury our own. So we dig the grave, we have the ceremony, we lay them to rest ourselves and bury the grave. All by ourselves, bro. Like me and my son, we buried like, I think like 3 people together now. Me and my little boy. He's a man now. It's amazing. So like, when did we meet?
So we met about a year and a half ago, I would say. Actually, no, a year ago. About a year ago this time last year. Okay,
so a year ago, I would say about a year and a half ago. Mm-hmm. 2 years ago is when I decided I'm going to swallow my pride because, again, my wife's grandparents, they watched us struggle. And it wasn't like, no, they didn't watch us struggle, but like they watched us do our thing. Yeah. Everybody had their opinions of me and my wife at first because I was a criminal, you know what I'm saying? Whatever. I proved to them over and over, time and time again. And you've seen it at their birthday party, right? Mm-hmm. They're like, finally, they're like, yo, we ain't worried at all. Like, you got it. Like, cool. So I got
people change.
I got the sign off, right? Sure. At first, it was a constant, bro, I'm not like what you think I'm going to be.
Had to prove yourself.
Yeah, and it wasn't an issue for that. But they gave me an offer. They're like, well, you guys, you did it. You tried. Good job. And it was sarcastic, just like that. They're like, you tried?
Tried to what?
Make it. Yeah. Like, make it financially, bro. Like, we're spinning our wheels living in a 2-bedroom townhome. And it's a nice place, but it's not fitting for my children that come to visit me on the weekend. Right. And again, we're running around Yankton to Mitchell every weekend. I get literally a total of like 24 hours with my kids, bro. And we're just spending, trying to get time with them. And then they are all sharing a fucking room. Right. And I'm like, what is it? What's got to give, bro? And then finally they spoke up. They're like, we're going to show you. We'll give you an opportunity, move into our house. And they're well off, you know what I'm saying? So like, move into our house. We'll show you some of our values, you know, help you save money, and then we'll help you get a house. Mm. Everybody in my friend group was like, yo, you're going to move in with white people? Why would you do that? Why can't you just get it on your own? I was like, bro, what are we really doing? Like, we are struggling, dog. Like, I'm paying so much in child support, probation fees, everything, bro. I'm like, I don't even know how we're making it, but we're making it, you know what I mean? And it's cool, and I'm grinding, I'm working hard, and like, I beat probation. And then as I move in with them, we change jobs, you know what I'm saying? We're doing things together. Like, all of a sudden we decide that, because my kids are about to turn teenagers, and I'm like, dude, I need my kids. They need this. They need me. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So then my babe mom was in a bad position, and she's fighting her demons or whatever. And like, I was like, dude, this is better. Like, now I have better. Let me show you better. Mm-hmm. We're living in the safest city in South Dakota. Like, I used all those stats, bro. Like, they're going to go to Brandon, the #1 school in South Dakota at the time. You know what I mean? Like, they're voted #1 5 years in a row. Mm-hmm. She's like, all right, cool. So they moved in with us. So now my whole family's living in this basement, and it's a nice basement, right? But we take that year, one of my other cousins kills himself. Mm-hmm. As we're saving money, we have this sense of responsibility. We go down there because we just left Milk's camp, right? Mm-hmm. He hangs himself that night. My aunt calls me. She's like, I need you. I come running back, right? We're back in Nebraska now. We're doing everything we can. And all I asked for, I was like, here, teach me the way. Show me how things go, because in this family, I know that I'm coming up. It so happens that a funeral is a major part of our culture. Like, people fucking die, bro. Like, they do die. So what do you do? And then again, trying to find all the things that we do and what was proper and how to go about it, and just being supportive. And it's a hard thing, bro. Like, and again, it was one of these things that like, it seemed like it was meant for me. Like, all right, cool. You got to be the one to be strong, to carry on ceremony, to at least speak the idea of it. And I'm still learning, bro. Like, don't ever ask me to come up and pray in Lakota, because it ain't going to happen. Not yet. Like, I'm not there yet. Not yet. I don't put no limitations on me. That's for sure. But with all this that happened, it was, bro, we stacked up. We spent the money, like we gave as much as we could. It was like 2 bands or something like that. It was like $10,000 to bury somebody.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah.
like
And-
it's
yeah.
10,000, bro. And like when they're like, it costs, like, we need 8,000, and everybody got silent and like looked down, and I'm like,
And that's with like
bro, what are
pretty
we
much
doing?
no headstone. Or
Yeah, that's no
for the
headstone.
most
None.
part.
It's just burying him.
That's
the
crazy.
cheapest
That's
casket.
why life insurance is important.
Yeah,
man.
and that too. Plug yourself, bro. Life insurance
Right.
is serious because
No, for
I need
real.
it, and I need to find a way to get around it and all that because of like my history, right? And
Yep.
we're gonna discuss that
we can
sometime.
talk about it. Yeah.
But seeing that like when you're fighting something so deep, bro, you can't beat the system. You can't beat it out yourself. Like, what are you gonna do? You feel like you have no options. Like, damn, that can't be me. You know what I mean, I got too much to live for.
When we met, talk about Leaders of Tomorrow,
Okay.
because that's where really you started to
Yeah. Let's
want more and more.
again. And when I joined Leaders Tomorrow, it was an offer that I didn't know how serious it was at first. That's to be totally transparent. I didn't understand. There was a few people in my life, like my therapist, Serene Thin Elk. She breathed life to me. She was validating me at the time. She was doing all these things, and she's like, "Yo, from the sounds of how you're living, like Leaders Tomorrow would be good for you." Mm-hmm. Okay, whatever. Yeah. Never knew nothing about development, none of that shit, right? So then Shelly Gaddis, she, like through her Kristen's grandparents, we met her, and she spoke some life into us, and like she challenged me because I wanted to be an entrepreneur, right? And I was like, dude, I just can't do this. And that was where the whole idea of chasing success was for me at that time. Like when I was like, well, dude, how do I be different? How do I do this? And I started watching all these motivational videos, and like they were telling you how to exclude yourself, change the people you're around. And then her grandparents were like, stop being around the influencees, be around the influencers. That outlook instantly. I was like, well, how do you do that? That was the next question. How do you do it?
Right.
And when I met Shelly, she's like, well, go have a meeting with Vonnie. I was like, oh, I know Vonnie. Like, he did the rap thing a long time ago, right? When I was younger. He's like, yeah, he's been doing his thing, and he's really involved in the community. He does this, this, and this. I'm like, okay. And I still sat on it for a little bit. And then somebody I was working with, they're like, dude, you should take Leaders Tomorrow. I was like, dude, I keep hearing about that. Like, take it. It's serious. Like, all right. So I signed up. Had a meeting with Vonnie. Vonnie's like, yeah, dude, like, we're going to get you into Leaders Tomorrow. Like, this is going to be your time to, like, develop who you want to be, because we can see the passion in you, but you need to develop it. So we jump into, I get into the class, right? I'm working at JL Beers, and I'm like, bro, I just want to be an entrepreneur. I want this stuff right now. I'm trying to figure it out. And like all this information is coming quickly, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, bro, like, why can't I get it? If somebody would just show me, I would do it. And when I said that, I didn't know what I was talking about. But now that, it's not even but now, but as I grew in Leaders of Tomorrow, I realized that if somebody would just show me success, if somebody would give me a blueprint of how to live a better life, and that's not even financially, bro, like just morally and the way you think and just how to track success and what it looks like,
Yeah,
you
so
know, to
things
be
between the ears, really.
you know what I mean? And how to discover yourself to get everything, right? And then finding a support system of people that believe the same way as you do.
Right.
That's what fucking, bro, that was my second aha moment in life. I was like, no fucking way, bro. Somebody showed me the way I'm gonna do it. I said what I said, and I'm gonna stand on that, bro. Like, you show me how to do this, I'm gonna do it. So again, I became that, yo, let me get on this. Here, I know this. And I would do some research, and I was like, this is aligning with some of the stuff that I'm learning. And I'm like, bro, this is what I want to do. And then again, meeting these people that were high energy or successful, you know, like that are already entrepreneurs, and you're like, bro, you feel a sense of like, I'm not there. I can't do that. You know what I mean? Like, or how am I going to do that? But again, I graduated from LOT. Automatically, I'm coming home telling my wife this every day. I'm like, bro, we got to communicate the same way. And I was like, if you could get on. And she's like, what are you talking about? And I get really like hyper. So like, I really get passionate and hyper. I was like, yo, bro, if you just this. And she's like, whoa, like that's a lot. I was like, dude, just take Leaders Tomorrow. Well, I got in good with Tamian, and he was like, yeah, we'll get your wife into Justice Impacted since you're Justice Impacted. I was like, okay, cool. It was just automatically get her in the cohort so we could speak the same language and better our already, like, dude, like we're the standard of relationship, right? Like just love and all that. And in order to continue to have that standard, you got to continue to work on it, right?
Right.
So in order to grow, you have to water, you have to plant the seed, you have to fucking give it time and be patient. And that leads me into like how I'm being successful now is because I stepped into it. I leaned into it and leaned into it. And that's what they offer at Leaders Tomorrow is like, we will offer you all of this. It's up to you how far you take it. And I'm like, I want to take it to the max, bro. I want to be successful.
Right.
And they're like, well, what's success mean to you? I'm like, well, fuck. Obviously, financial freedom is a big deal.
Yeah.
You know, because everybody's like, if I was rich, it'd be all good. What I've learned, though, is like, if you're not preparing yourself for what's to come, you're not going to know what to fucking do with it anyway, bro.
And that's the difference between rich people and wealthy people.
There it is. And that's the big differences. And that's even with generosity and charity and understanding. Like, you only can go so far, bro. Like, really, unless you do it with a positive attitude or unless you do it with genuineness, you know what I'm saying? Authenticity.
Right.
Like, if you're not coming from an authentic place and actually trying to do it positive or, I don't know, without any like,
It's the right mindset.
like backhanded, underhanded motion, you know what I mean?
Right.
Right.
Like, cause karma's real, you know what I mean? Like,
Absolutely
like the laws of the universe are factual, bro. Like, that's a thing. They don't talk about it because it's fake. It's real. These laws were put into place to set us straight. And like, especially in my culture, bro, like you talk about, you know, good and evil and, you know, bad and this and that, but then you talk about divine feminine energy, you know, and the masculine sacredness, like, what does that create? That creates a godlike thing because you can't create without the two, right?
Right.
And all that added up into the fact that, like, bro, it's written down for you. And then they give it to you in such a way, like LOT is given to you in such a way. And then they tell you that, hey, look, we weren't taught this. Most of us weren't given this. Even successful people weren't taught to fucking be thankful every day.
Right.
Right.
You know, and that's terrible in itself. You know what I mean? To be grateful for what you have. And now these are the trending words that we talk about, you know, gratitude and intention. And like, everybody wants to be intentional.
And we've talked about it on one of our first episodes and, you know, the power of the tongue. Before we get into the next part of our episode, I just want to talk about this quick because going back to when you were young and you were a kid in school, the power of a teacher or somebody's word is what you held on to and you bought into that. And when you believe that about yourself, your whole world fit that image. You know, and at the same time, you fast forward to that to now and you talk about, you know, I've seen it. The words you were saying at the beginning of Leaders Tomorrow and the action that you've taken, I've seen it. And I've seen you manifest stuff. Every time I see you, you're like, you know, I'm working, you know, to build up myself essentially so I can come on the podcast. And I'm like, dude, you're perfect for this podcast because there's so many people that have experienced some of those same things, you know, and there's so many people that feel like there is no hope. And I feel like when you're vulnerable and you're able to get up here and put this out to the world, you know, and let the world know this is me, this is who I've been, this is who I am now, and this is what I'm striving for. I think that gives other people the courage and the belief that, you know, if he can do it, I can do it.
Right.
You know, because we all have that. A little bit of dog in us. If I see somebody do something, I feel like, well, if he can do it, I can do it.
Right.
And that representation is big for you, is big for your family, and what everything you've said, you know, it's been a cycle.
Right.
It's not just you. It's gone down generation to generation to generation, and there's reasons why it's been that way.
Right.
But for you to be the person to say, you know what? I'm
here.
changing. Yeah. And your wife to come in and support you the way that she does and her family to buy into it now as well. And I just think it's awesome. And it gives hope to people.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And another thing, just with, you know, your friends talking about you getting in with a white person, you know, and staying with a white person. We've had people question why we've had certain people on this podcast.
Right.
And not to say that those are the same thing, but it's very similar
the
in
same
the
thing,
fact
bro.
of people will question why we have people on our show and have the opinions that they have. But first of all, they're not doing anything to help me or my people overstep poverty. And some people that we have on here will. even if they don't have the same skin color.
Yeah.
It's all skin folk ain't kin folk.
Right.
Is the saying. Like just because you look like me doesn't mean that we have the same values. You know, and just because we come from the same place doesn't mean we're gonna end up in the same place.
Right.
You know, so kudos to you on your journey. It's not over yet, obviously, but you're working.
No, this is
and
just getting
man.
started. And
I
that's,
see you.
again, I feel like we spent in the beginning, wherever like we land is like, I spent a lot of time, and that's why I try to avoid, because it is a lot of
deep.
It's a lot to
deep.
unpack, bro. And I don't
Right.
want,
It is.
again, and that's where I never wanted to be the thing, because what I'm doing now is so much more than what I've been through.
Yeah.
But to shed light at the same time and be like, look, bro, you've been through it, now you're doing this.
Now
and
tell me,
and it's never oh my God, he did it, and it's because of this and this and this.
Right.
No, bro, that's consistency and persistence for sure.
facts. What is your vision on what you're trying to do right now?
At this moment, my vision for myself and my family is to change the idea and the name of what milk is, right? The legacy, we're a direct descendant of Chief Milk, right? Direct descendant, bro. Like,
Yeah.
my grandma's buried not even a stone's throw away from him, and it's real. But then what do we carry with that idea of what a chief is, right? And that's what I'm trying to chase right now is, what were these men doing back then that made him so prominent and made him such a leader where they could give him that title? And then business-wise, me and your sister, Monique Renville, right? Shout out to her.
Yep.
We had similar ideas, similar backgrounds, and similar identity issues growing up and this and that, right? So then being natives from the city, being indigenous people from this city, we feel a disconnect because you don't feel as native as the natives on the res. You don't feel as indigenous as until you show up to a powwow. You know what I'm saying? Like, and then even there you feel like a spectator because we weren't taught this, bro. Like, it was taken from us, it was stripped from us. So then our idea for our business company that we've instilled now, and not like it hasn't been full launch yet, but it's our business is Red Resilience. And our main focus is giving life and breathing life into this city of indigenous youth, indigenous adults, you know what I'm saying? People that are struggling maybe with cultural identity. And I'm not talking about fraudulent whatever. We're not getting into that or whatever. But if, like, show me who your grandma is. You know what I mean? Like, that's what it comes down to. It's not, like, to me, it doesn't matter if you're enrolled or whatever, bro. Like, do you know who your people is? And then even still, like, where did you come from, or where do you
want to help connect people to the roots?
And that's what it is. It's just giving the idea that, like, look, bro, I'm just like him. I live in the city. You know what I'm saying? We go out to the res and do the same thing. It's, you know what I'm saying? I'm here, though.
Yeah.
And again, I'm not from the res originally, but I've been there enough to understand, like, look, bro, that's not for me.
Yeah.
It's smaller than the small town feel. And that's why I came to the city, and I'm growing in the city. And then within that business, we are creating a space for other creators and other indigenous people while teaching, right? Because, you know, you have to teach the next generation. Without that, we ain't nobody.
Right.
So now we're breathing life back into children. We're going into the high schools. We're teaching most beating class. We're also creating other courses for, like, drum making, drumstick making, moccasins, like just an array of indigenous art and crafts, right? Without calling it arts and crafts, because it's much more than that. You know what I mean?
It
Like,
really is.
it is art. It's beautiful. You know what I
really
mean?
is.
And then somebody crafted it. But when you take the idea of arts and crafts, they get weird. About it,
Handcrafted.
right? Yeah, it's handcrafted, really handcrafted, indigenous made stuff. With that, it's just because we're chasing to be an entrepreneur, right? And we're trying to show people that you can create ownership and you can do the thing.
Yeah.
And, you know, how do we do that? By leading by the example of our life.
Mm-hmm.
So with that, it led into the idea of that we're going to raise the graduation rate for indigenous youth in this city first. That's the first thing. You know, we're in the high schools now and we're talking to kids, and I want them to find out and define what success is to them so they can find, you know, they can map that out and just reach their destination.
Each one teach one.
Right? If you don't have a destination, then where you going, right? You just driving.
Right.
And it's cool to cruise, right? If you're young, especially if you're listening to this and you're young, it's cool to cruise around, but, like, you should have a destination. You should have a goal.
Yeah,
the journey's
for sure.
great, but, like, you should have something to obtain, right?
Yeah, something to strive for sure.
Right. So that's the first thing we
dope.
step with is if you graduate high school, that's a major accomplishment.
It is,
I
for
never
sure.
had that accomplishment,
Right.
you know, but I feel like just because I didn't do that doesn't mean I can't speak on that. You know what I mean?
You're trying to help the people like I just said, each one teach one. You're trying to put your hand down and lift somebody up based off of the knowledge that you've just obtained. And
instant.
You don't need a degree to define you as valuable. And I tell my sister that because she feels that way sometimes because she doesn't have a college degree. And I'm like, the real life experiences that you get is enough qualification in my eyes in a lot of cases to teach things.
Right.
If you taught yourself how to bead, who am I to tell you can't teach that?
Right.
You know, and you are Native American, whether you're biracial or not, it doesn't matter. This is what you are. Your bloodline can be traced back down to, I mean, it is what it is. And there's generational things that go within your DNA that are still with you, that were with generations before you.
Right.
So,
and that's being an outspoken person. That's, you know, being somebody that can feel the energy when you walk in the room or even change the energy. You know what I mean? And the last thing I want to lead into before we get into the roundtable is that this life that I'm choosing to live is for everybody. It's actually for everyone. It's not something that you have to go pay for. You know what I mean? Like, it's something that if you focus every day and just move something forward a little bit every single day, it's going to grow and it's going to change. And then if you see, like, if you dropped a little bit of water in a cup every single day, the cup will be full. You've all had something leak before, right?
Absolutely.
And that bowl fills up, right?
Yep.
And it's up to you whether or not you want to fix the leak or push the leak forward. And me, I was trying to burst the pipe, bro, because I don't want to be a drip in a cup anymore. You know what I mean? I want to see my cup overflow
for sure.
at all times.
I love
Absolutely.
that, man.
I do as well. And, you know, obviously just sharing your story, it's so inspiring, and there's going to be people that listen to it and they're going to figure out that where you start does not determine where you finish.
Definitely.
You know, there's a story of growth in between that, and there's a story of resilience to truly continue to keep going, because at any point in time you could have just given up. Period. I give up. I'm going to keep doing this exact same thing, but you didn't do that. And so there's growth in that. And there's also we say in the beginning of this podcast, in that introduction, is being the difference between I can't and I can, or I won't and I will. And that's just a shift in mindset. And you've done that, you know? And so my question before our roundtable here is, being someone who's gone through all that and looking at yourself today, there's somewhere in there where you figure out really the true definition of overstepping poverty.
Right.
And so I want to know exactly, in your perspective, what is overstepping poverty to you?
Overstepping poverty, in my mind, is actually that. It's in your mind. It's a mindset. It's living in lack. It's having a scarcity idea. It's feeling like there's not enough for everyone. It's feeling like you don't deserve that. You know what I mean? Like, these are things that are instilled in us, indoctrinated in us for generations. And once you step out of the idea that there are rules and they're black and white and this is the only way that you're going to do it, and if this is the only way you can dunk a basketball is if you're 6 foot tall. Like, no, dude, you can dunk if you train your legs. If you jump, eventually it'll happen.
Right.
But if you limit yourself, then you're stuck. And that's fine, because it's all about your mindset, right?
Right.
So again, I came to terms with myself that if you do this, you won't get this. You know what I'm saying? But if you do things a certain way, in small increments, and if you're willing to learn, and if you're willing to be open to suggestion, to counsel, and not advice, because everybody got advice, bro. Nobody wants to hear that.
Right.
I don't want to hear your advice. I want to hear your life experience. I want to know something that you can help me through, something that you had to avoid yourself. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
How you overcame it. It's about knowledge, bro. Like, if you don't know, how are you going to do? You only know what you know, right? And that's another thing. Like, don't be afraid to learn.
Right.
Don't be afraid to be like, oh, well, credit's not for me, you know?
Right.
You know, oh, getting a loan for a car is not it. Buy straight out. And then you're paying all year because you're not a mechanic either, bro. So what do you mean? Like, what are we really doing here? So again, being a student forever.
Yep.
And then changing your mindset.
Absolutely. Right. And that's how people continue to progress. It's knowing that you don't have all the knowledge. There's always more to learn.
Right.
You know, so I completely agree with you. And that's a great outlook, you know, and definition of overstepping poverty. I love it. But I do want to move into our next part of our episode here,
Okay.
And that's called Roundtable. You now have the chance to ask us questions, put us on the hot seat. So take it away.
I guess my question to both of you is, being entrepreneurs that are on the track, right? You're on the track for success. I can see it, you know what I mean? Plain as day, and other people can, that have been on your podcast, that are watching your podcast. How do you balance making it without forcing it? You know, you got to find your way without force your way. That's what I've been talking about the most today. Is like, how do you find your way without forcing your way? How do you find that balance in your life?
Honestly, I don't have the answer to that. You know, I think that's something that you're always having to rebalance, because there's always new things that are going to be thrown into your life that are going to knock you off of your routine, you know? So when you are trying to find a balance, it's really about a lot of the things we've talked about, you know, communication with your spouse or whoever you share your life with, but then at the same time, making sure you're not taking on things that don't fit into what you want to do.
Right.
And I found myself in the place where I wanted to be involved, and it is the reason why I've been able to meet so many people. But at the same time, there comes a point where you don't have to do everything. You don't have to go to all of the events. You don't have to do all of the things to feel like you're doing something, you know, because at the same time, when you go to everything, there's a loss of value in that too, because you become too accessible, you know, so there's a fine line between those things. The balance is, I don't think there really is ever a true balance, you know, at least for me.
Yeah.
What do you think?
You know, for me, it's something that I changed a few years ago when I got into my sales professional career there. And it's when you force something, someone will ask you a question, right? Say you don't know the answer. Most people who don't know the answer right away, they're like, I need to come up with an answer. I need to come up with an answer. And it's forced. And they're typically wrong on the answer because they don't know the answer.
Yeah.
But when you find that way and you truly, you know what, I'm going to take a higher level on this here, and I may not be able to answer your question, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to find you the answer. And so that's the same exact thing in life. If you continue to try and force things that you don't know how to do, then of course you're going to fail. I mean, at some point you are going to fail. And at some point you may even be like, all right, that's it. I'm not going to continue to progress forward. But if you find that way, and in life you're like, all right, well, I may not have the answer to this right now, but I can find a way to continue to progress and move forward. That's how you continue to build. And if you continue to build, then people are also going to build with you. And that's how they make empires.
Yeah, I think with the not forcing stuff, it's about patience. And that's, for me, sometimes is one of the hardest things, you know, and that's tapping into your feminine energy as well. And not feeling like, oh, I got to make this happen right now. Sometimes, like, I even have to talk to myself like, yo, like, why do you feel like you have to be doing something? Just chill. You know, just chill a little bit, like, relax, bro. And, you know, I think we all could use that advice.
Yeah, and
absolutely.
That actually leads into my other question for you guys is, in this fast-paced idea of what an entrepreneur is trying to do, how we're all trying to overcome and, you know, overstep the poverty levels, change the statistics, how do we show patience and persistent patience at that? You know what I mean? How do we have persistent patience in the moment, within the time, knowing that we're doing the thing? You know what I mean? Because that's where the persistence come from. But then to be patient in that. And I'm not talking about just sitting still.
Right.
It's
For sure.
knowing, you know what I mean? Like, how do y'all do that?
Yeah, you know, that's also a very good question. Just as far as the patience in life and just really trying to figure things out, it's truly knowing that you don't know everything. You don't have everything figured out. So my patience comes from, okay, you know what? I want to be better at this skill. Well, guess what? If I want to be better at this skill, that means I'm going to have to continue to do this skill over and over and over again until I can say I'm a professional at this.
Right.
There's so many times in life that people think that, you know what, if I do something, I should just get rewarded right away.
Right.
And so I try not to think about that. And so whenever whether it's my work, whether it's this podcast, whether it's interacting, you know, socially or anything like that, I always try and just think, all right, take it one step at a time. If I take it one step at a time and I continue to take those steps, sooner or later I will be successful at it. If I don't and I try and run and sprint directly to the finish line, I'm probably gonna slip. I'm gonna fall
and make a bunch of mistakes.
Exactly.
I agree with a lot of that. I think there's a few things, and I wrote them down here as I was listening to Quan. I think the first thing is introspection. You know, like you have to start to understand yourself. You have to start to understand, like, you know, it's the simplest thing of like when you have that feeling in your chest and you know you're supposed to say something. You know, like those are signs. Your body's telling you like, okay, you have something that you need to get out. You need to start learning your body so you can understand exactly where you're at. The next thing I thought of was counsel. Like you mentioned, like using the people around you. Stop feeling like you have to do everything on your own. I think that's the biggest mistake of any entrepreneur, is probably feeling like they have to do everything and that they can't delegate. And if you're not ever going to be able to delegate, it's going to be hard for you to really scale your business, because if you have to be doing everything, you're always going to be working, you know, and then you're not able to focus on different parts of the business. And then after that, it's a lot with introspection, but it's like, depending on the person, whether you're religious or it's your faith or you're spiritual, like really diving into that, because that's really where your answers are. And I see a lot when it comes to the Native American culture, and a lot of what stuck out to me about them recently has been quotes about silence and how they're okay with silence. Right. And most people cannot stand to be in silence for 5 minutes.
Guilty.
You know, and there's a reason for that, but there's so much that's going through your head. And when you're able to learn how to filter through those thoughts and get all the outside thoughts out of your head, and then really start to understand how you're feeling, the things going through your head, it takes a lot of work. It really does. But that's where I would start for sure.
Being the fact that I'm joining a new business venture, right, with a partner. And again, it happened fairly quickly. And there's no doubts in my mind that it's not a perfect pairing, right? Because it just makes sense. And it's made so much sense that we're like, this makes sense, let's do it. So in discussing a business with a partner, like, and you got a couple of them, right? Like you got different partnerships with people. How are you partners? How does that work? How do you see the business going? How do you discuss growth? How do you discuss even this time thing that we ran into? Like, how do we, like, it's okay, but it's okay, but it's not okay, but it's okay. Yeah. Like, how do y'all balance those decisions?
Truthfully, I think it's a level of understanding.
Respect.
A level of understanding, respect, as well as communication.
Okay.
And there's going to be times, of course, in this business partnership that you have where it's like, man, I probably should have communicated this better.
Right.
You know, and everyone has that in any partnership, but it's manning up or any, whatever you want to call it, you know, stepping forward and being that bigger person. And it's like, okay, I may have done this wrong, but this is how we're going to fix it. Because at the end of the day, in any partnership, you don't want it to fail, especially a business. And the only way that it is going to fail is if you get this huge ego and you're just like, it's my way or the highway, right, you know? And so that's how people fail. So I think just with you getting into a business partnership and whatnot, I think you just have to understand that the communication to anything, it's key. It's just like a relationship,
right?
You know, it's something that you guys both will have to work on. It's something that Zacchaeus and I work on daily, right? You know, it's not something that just goes away. So
true.
I like that.
I think it's like, I mean, he hit the nail on the head with all he said. And, you know, it's like it's a relationship. Like you're literally in a relationship with somebody, and you can think of your own personal relationship with like your wife or, you know, your friends or whatever. There's going to be times, obviously, when you're not seeing eye to eye on things. And I think the biggest lesson that I've learned through it is there's a couple things, actually. You're on the same team. You know, like we want the same goal. So like, figure it out. Like, don't, and he said it's ego. A lot of times it's going to be your ego. It's getting in the way of yourself every single time, right? And I think when you're able to get through those things and get through those hard conversations, you'll see that those things won't pop up as much. You won't have as many conflicts when the conflict that needs to be addressed has been addressed, and you guys are past that. Right. You know what I'm saying? So it's definitely something that it's just, like you said, it's always a learning experience, but I think you need to have trust. And the other thing that I think is you need to have the mindset, like you need to be all in. Like if you're not all in, there's no point in doing it. Like if you're not all in, it's not gonna happen. Exactly. And
fill the time or something.
Right. No, and there was a point where I felt like we were still doing this podcast, and even at the beginning, and we're doing it, but I didn't always feel that I was always bought in personally as much as I am now, you know, because I'm completely bought in, and to get to that point took us going through arguments and stuff.
Absolutely.
In a conversation of like, hey, look, we're doing this, we're putting this money into this, we're trying to build this because we see the vision. You need to be bought in, or like there's no point like at all, because then we're just wasting our time. So
put your money where your mouth is. You know,
it is.
Like, and that's not just money, financial. That's everything.
Yeah, your resources. You be present, like
your time.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely. There's a lot of things that go into it, and it's hard. That's why so many people fail. But if you really have the common goal and you really believe in it, you know, you can do that shit.
Right. And I ask these things because it's more of it's a counsel. Like, if you already know, why should I have to go through it too?
Right.
You know, and I think I explain that to my kids the most. I'm like, bro, like, they're like, why you got to be like this? I'm like, well, why would I let you go out there and get hurt or put yourself in a position when I was already in that? And if you just understand that I was there, and, you know, we take away the fact that like, I'm just some old man that I don't get it. But when we really talk about the fact, like, look, bro, like before the crosswalk was there, I was across the street. Now there's a crosswalk. Let me show you how to get there.
Right. Yeah.
You get across safely. So
absolutely. You know, you've had so many gems in this episode here, and so many learning experiences that other people are going to hear and truly learn from it. And so I do have to ask just a couple more there. And that's, can you tell us, you know, the 5 tips, tricks, and hacks in overstepping poverty on what you tell yourself, or even maybe what you tell your kids?
The first one automatically that I learned from Grandpa Dwayne, he said, don't be around the influencees. Be around the influencers and watch how your life changes. It's a big deal. And then be around people that are willing to show you the way if you're willing to learn. You know, that's a big deal. Like we talked this morning, closed mouths don't get fed, bro. So if you need something, ask. But understand what you're asking. You know, I think that's the biggest thing. Like, the worst you're going to get is a no, right? But if you understand what you're asking from them, I think it'd be easier to ask that question. Right. Like, well, what are you actually asking for?
What do you want? Yeah.
You know? And if you can be like, well, you can be clear with that, then it's not an issue. Find your way, not force your way. That's the biggest thing I got. And I feel like my last one is persistent patience with a patient urgency. That's been my thing, bro. That's been literally rocket ship the whole time. Like, all gas, no brakes. And I got, even my mentors are like, bro, slow down. I'm like, no. It's not, I'm not chasing the next thing. I'm chasing the thing that makes sense. Yeah. And that's, you know what I mean? I'm not for the next thing because I already see my future. Like I said, I've spoke this into existence multiple times. Like, everything I've said I was going to do, you take away the distractions, and I'm working on them, right? We're still working on distractions. Everybody has them, and I'm still working on them. I'm still fighting 1,000 different addictions that I didn't know were addictions because I was actually addicted. You know what I mean? But now it's, damn, caffeine's serious. Right. You know, scrolling's a serious thing. You know, being a procrastinator is huge. And that's a lot of people's downfall, is that you think that you don't have enough time, but you're not given the time into a proper space, right? And these are all things that I've learned through LOT, you know, and giving that push or giving that idea that this shit's teachable. Like, you can learn it too. I think that's my biggest go-to for everybody right now, is like, it's out there, bro. The information's there, especially in our community. It's there. Like, just reach out. You know what I mean? Like, there's not one person that I haven't bumped into yet that's been trying to gatekeep how to go out and grind and be successful and to be positive. And
yeah, but most people will tell you that there's this person that's holding you back and holding you back from being able to do whatever it is you want to do. So
and no one wants to hear that.
For everybody out there with that mindset, get out of that victim mindset, man. It's time to make the change.
Yeah, because the only person that's holding you back is you.
Every time.
Again, because if you have to make the choices, right, you can't get up early if you stay up late. It's simple. Like, give yourself an understanding that you have to sacrifice something to gain something else. You know what I mean? And if we live in these terms of, you know, develop yourself personally. You don't got to call it personal development. You just develop yourself, bro. And then that's what it is. You know what I mean? If
you giving them a whole motherfucking
bro, I swear to God, like, I wish we had more time because like this is where I wanted to be in this zone.
Yeah.
Like,
for real.
again, my childhood, it is what it is. And we can talk about that forever, and me developing my story is great. But showing the world, bro, not even just our community, right? Our world, like, it's out there. Our voice is heard now, and we're gonna be the generation, like us as colored men, bro. We're gonna be the ones that be like, look, you can do this. You know what I mean? Like,
that's facts, man. That's facts. I think we end it right there.
Yeah. Let's go. Let's go.
Y'all. That was
absolutely
great.
Well, thank you so much for being on our episode of Overstepping Poverty, John. You have honestly the vulnerability to just be on the podcast and tell your true whole story. It's definitely appreciative, you know, from all of us that are listening, from us that are here, for those of you that are listening as well. With his new business and whatnot, you need to reach out, learn some things there. Also reach out to us as well. We have OSP Productions here, where we can also provide podcast experience to you. So we'll see you guys next week on Overstepping Poverty. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Overstepping Poverty. We hope you found this week's discussion informative and thought-provoking. We know that tackling poverty is a complex issue, but by working together and understanding the root causes, we can make progress towards creating a more equitable society. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with your friends and family, and don't forget to subscribe to our show. Until next time, let's take the next steps in Overstepping Poverty.